Hi, everybody. Welcome to our general anatomy class. My name is Christoph Muhlinghaus, and I'm teaching the online portion of it, the lecture portion of it, and Carl Estrella is teaching the lab portion of it, which you will be in person at your time whenever your time is. I just want to go briefly introducing the class on the online side, the lecture side, and go through the material so you get an idea of how that sort of works and can get started with it. So let me just gonna make me small here, and you don't need to see me too much, but here's the material, the Canvas shell. First of all, can you get into Canvas? That's number one, most important. I hope you can. If not, reach out to classmates or also to me. You can do that, or to the school, of course, to get help from them. That's probably actually the best place to go. The help desk. But when you want to get in contact with me, the easiest way to do that is actually through Pronto. So if you have not seen Pronto before, Pronto you can access right through here. See that over here? Where is it? Should be here. See down in here, it says Pronto. You can click on that on your computer or also get the app, which I have on the phone, and then it's like a texting service. But what it does, it keeps everything in sort of in circled. It's internal. It's not like a regular text where what we talk about is out in the regular world. And so it's a protected situation that way. It's a closed circuit that way. But anyway, that's a great way to get in touch with me. Of course, the other way is your inbox here over here. But when you get into Canvas and you open a Canvas shell and you go in there and you see the home button here, you click on that, then it gets to this part of it. This is an introduction video. What's important here, you get them in contact if you want, although I just told you about that. And then here you can click and get to the material, directly to the syllabus, or study tools, which, I just have a link there for easier access. You can access everything over here. Let me actually go into the student view. I'm not sure I'm not in this. Access everything over here through modules as well. And then over here, we got these tabs. I might have to change a few of them. There's a lot of them showing. But what you really need is announcements, which you can see here, the recent ones. Syllabus, you can access through modules. And then the modules are the most important thing where you can access everything easiest. So when you look at modules, the word module is it's a piece. It's a section. So we mostly do that as a week. See down here, week 1. I showed you week 1 up here. But the first few are a little bit of extra material. You got some support stuff that is sort of Canvas world material that you can go in and find solutions. And then I got this one that I made for study tools. When we look at anatomy, you see, you just click in there, it goes in there. And you can use that on the phone too. When we look at anatomy, we look at a lot of memorization, number one, that we need to do. And then the other thing we need to do is we need to understand sort of processes a little bit, maybe where a muscle's attached and what it does, and then sort of get that understood. But for the most part, it's labels. And how do we study labels easier? We want to figure out a way of making repetition. And so what I go through here is, first section is sort of talk about this is actually important. Talk about the different ways of being able to process material. And if you are actually just sitting on the computer and looking at the computer screen, it's sort of a lecture, it's reading, your retention is not that great. If we talk about it, it's going to be greater and bigger. If we actually go touch things in the lab and hold it and talk to each other about it and have a discussion about it, look at how much greater this retention becomes of what we're learning. And of course, the reason why I teach is so I remember more, because when you actually teach it to others, so when you teach it to each other what you're learning, you really have the most retention. And so a lot of the memorizations you're going to do in the classroom with Mr. Estrella, and in there, I encourage you to touch models and bones and muscles and feel and talk about it as much as possible and get yourself away from the screen. The two-dimensional is limited that way. Most of us are when we look at what kind of life learning style, although we're revising that to some level. But at the end of the day, most of us are kinesthetic heavily. So whatever we do something with what we're learning is really helpful in understanding it. And then also remembering it, because what way we remember is when we repeat something. So a thought, we have a thought or a feeling, or some things are easier than others to have. The more we have that, the stronger it gets. And so when we do repetition, that helps. But we gotta be conscious about repetition. We can't just like be mindless and read something. That doesn't make a neuron going in the head and a memory being created. What creates the memory is when we think about something. Also, by the way, that's also what's a little bit painful. So when we, for example, need to search for an answer, that really helps us remember it. And so this is shown here with what they call a reverberating circuit. These are nerve cells. They go from one nerve cell to the next nerve cell. That's like a thought. And then see, the more we have a thought, the last nerve cell feeds back to the first nerve cell or one before and starts internally making it stronger as an impulse. And that's actually the foundation of what Donald Hebb, a researcher, calls neurons that fire together, wire together. So that's actually a getting used to. But that's a learning process, how the neurons learn. And so when we use that, one of the ways that we study very well is when we ask a question and we have to search for an answer. So let's say we have a structure, I don't know, list the bones of the upper extremities, or list the bones of the skulls, and you have a question and you then need to search for the answer, and best even write it down, or just search it in your head and then write it and then see, did I get those correct? That really makes strong memory. But also just the searching is very strong. And you could do that greatly with a flashcard. With a flashcard, meaning you have how many bones are in the skull, or name the bones of the skull on one side, or whatever it is. And then on the other side, you got the answers. I used to then indicate in parentheses how many words I need to look for, so I didn't go crazy in my head. But that way, you really memorize things strongly. And then, and so I outlined the way of doing that here with this shoebox system, the Leitner system. It's called. It was from the 70s actually, but it's still relevant because the apps that you're using do similar methodologies. They just use algorithms for it, but you can do it yourself as well. Have a system of organizing your physical flashcards if you do physical, and I do believe there is a little advantage of physical, but the phone is fine. But if you do physical flashcards, you make the flashcard, and then I have the system that makes you study the stuff you don't know more than what you're already knowing. And so you have this sections or clips or whatever you use to I don't use 5, I use like 4, because what I do is each numbered box or each clip, you have a different frequency of when you go through that. So the first one you do every day. And if you then know a card correctly, if you answer it correctly, you go to the next one. If you don't, it stays in the first one. And you do that every day until you know it. And then the second one, you do twice a week. Because you already know it now, you just need to think, do I still remember it? And then the third one, so you do remember it, you put it to the third one. The third one, you do once a week, maybe. And then the fourth one, do twice before the test or something like that. And then the fifth can be storage. Don't throw this away. Organize it a little bit, because this stuff is very useful and very helpful. And so that way, that's a system. And again, the online versions do it too. But that's a system where you then focus your study on the stuff that you don't know and move on with the stuff you already know, or you easily memorize easier. And then don't waste your time on being mindless on that, because that's also the stuff that, if you have ADD, which I do, that's also the stuff that makes you space out if you have that thing. And so it's a pretty good system. So I want you just read this and think about it, and you don't have to use it, but I want you to at least think about it a little bit. There is an activity this week on that. So then after that is class orientation. Class orientation is pretty much the stuff that's not in the weekly module. The other things we have in module is the exams then. but we'll actually the reviews, because now the exams are all fully in person. We'll talk about that some more when we get to the when you get into the lab with Mr. Strayer first. But here you meet me a little bit, you meet him a little bit, you have how to connect with us, and then a few prompts on help improve the course. We want to talk briefly about diversity, and then we got us some a syllabus here. We have some help with navigating the course if we need. I didn't need to go in there. If you'd like, need some more Canvas help, and then we have some resources for you also, tutoring, and then studio is over here. You see over here, you got the studio right there, the studio button. That's an internal sort of Canvas video making software type thing, and so you can use that. Although I feel very strongly that now I do go into this Canvas course, that what I do use as much as I can in Canvas is the apps. The app's really good. So you have a link here to the app to get it. You can also go to the App Store, or I have an iPhone, so I don't know the store to get the apps. That's a really good app, because one of the things that's really good, and you just play with it and see what works for you. But making videos is great, because you just do a selfie video like normal, and then you can attach it from your phone, from your photos, and upload it that way. And so I think that's really great, because one of the things we like to do in this class is have not just the writing in a discussion that we have or in some format. I mean, you meeting in class, so that's pretty good already. But still, whether we do that sort of a discussion format, you can make videos, or if you upload. I mean, most of what we do is a lot of how we learn names in this part on the online is coloring and labeling structures on a picture. But you can make videos with. I had people that made videos with that stuff, so they're very creative. But we'll get to that in a little bit. So there's the studio link. So that's basically what that is about. But when we get into the syllabus now, looks like that. I can't figure out how to collapse these, but we can expand them all, then it doesn't matter. So the title of the course is Bio 16. We talked about that. There's a little description of the course. Then there's both of our emails. That's good. Then there is the prerequisites that you need for the course, which I'm sure you have, because otherwise you wouldn't be allowed in. And then there is a student learning outcomes. What are we learning in this course? And so this is kind of generic course people making language, so it's very broad, so don't waste too much time trying to understand it if it doesn't make sense. It's not really a big deal. The material is online. It's all online for the lecture portion, and the lab portion. Mr. Strayer will discuss his details on that, but this is a book that is a resource that can be free. Is a free resource, as sort of what the material is laid behind, as a reference. But otherwise, all my material for the lecture portion, it's all online. Then the attendance policy, he'll go through it more with you in terms of that, because mine is just do your stuff. And then when it comes to the grade, the assignment things, I'm going to go over general assignments, how I structure the lecture portion, and then he will go through the lab portion. But we structure it, well, I do that right here. We structure it 50-50. So lecture is 50%, lab is 50%. And within those, each individual instructor structures their own. So for my end, I have the 50%. 10 of those, actually 10%. So that's 20 of the 50. But 10 of the 100 is questions. So every lecture I give, we deliver with videos, primarily. And then you have two versions of videos. You have a voiceover where I talk into the computer, or you also have it in a classroom that I've done in previous in-person classes. And so you can watch the videos, and then each video has questions laid behind it. And so that's a format where I talk about the material again, and then, sorry, that's my dog, my companion. And then I ask a question about it, and that stuff you can take that questions over and over and sort of massage and the material and understand the material better again. And so that's 10% of my grade, of the 20% of the lecture grade, the fifth, 10% of the overall grade. So that's pure busy work. So that's kind of good. And then we got some discussion boards, a few, and also health integration activities. And that's real life sort of based activities that we do to integrate the material more deeper than just simply with these questions or talking about it. So that, for example, means when we talk about the skeletal system, I have an activity where you evaluate your workstation and you make sure you're not sitting all crooked. Or actually, it's fine if you're sitting crooked. But we talk about it. We talk about these things and what compromises. A lot of that is about gravity. Or then when we talk about the brain, actually, I created the gratitude journal where we do a gratitude journal for 5 days and learn sort of what does that do to our brain? Is there an impact with that? And so those are health kit activities, health integration activities, and discussion boards. And that's all, again, participation work, basically. Be part of it and learn. And as you learn, you get points along the way. And that's the 15% of the whole grade. And then 25% is the lecture exams. And the lab, again, is 50% of the whole grade is the other side. And then Mr. Estrella will talk about that with you guys. Each activity on the online has a rubric attached to it. They're usually at the bottom or on top right. There's 3 dots, there's stacked dots like here, just down in here. And those are giving you the rubrics. And then we pretty much have an outline of all the activities and all the chapters. Again, we have lecture questions that go with each lecture, and then we do a lot of label and coloring on the online, where you label structures that I give you a list of, a term list, and you color that, and that gives you some time to spend with the material. And then each week has a sort of a finishing up Padlet. We talk about, what did we learn this week, and you post that. That's an extra credit activity, but it's very helpful to have a forum as such. And I actually go into that and learn a lot from you guys of how to make it better and easier. So make sure you utilize that. Plus, it gives you extra credit. Who doesn't want that? And then the other ones are, from a lecture perspective, as I briefly talked about, these health integration sort of activities. In week 1, we are a little bit more extensive. See, we got all this stuff. We have a netiquette contract is 5 minutes out. Make sure you talk to each other nice online when we meet each other. So that's it. That's not a biggie. Syllabus questions, once you reflect, do you still have a question that I can answer? You say, no, I don't, or I do, and that gives you the points. It's just the house cleaning stuff to make sure everybody's on the same page. I want you to update your personal profile. I want you to introduce yourself with the videos. That way you know how to make a video. Again, selfie video works fine. And then I have an activity where I want you to do a little bit of planning of the studies, of your studies. When do you going to study for this class? Because it's a big class. It's going to take some studying. These are the worst thing we often do is not think about it. And again, I'm also actually doing that too. I have to get myself by on my own notes and lecture myself. But when I do plan properly, everything is much simpler. And so that's a brief activity on that. And then we get right into a lecture, and we have some lecture questions. We have a couple of discussions. In a few chapters, we have some concepts I want you to understand. Like in the first chapter, one of them is homeostasis. Or negative feedback mechanism. How does the body do that? And so you think a little bit more about that and have a discussion around it with your fellow students. And then also I do have a discussion about the study tools that we just briefly mentioned beforehand. On that one, I want you to think about how do you make your environment to study friendly for yourself. Is that some music? Is that a candle? Is that some tea? What is that? A cup of coffee? Everybody is different. Just reflection a little bit this first week. We don't do this one right now. And then this is this this Padlet that I talked about briefly, questions and tips, this extra credit. And then week 1 has a survey in it. As again, a very brief, fast thing, gives you some extra credit points. And then in the week 1, we have this lifestyle assessment and habit creation as well. And so I want to briefly finish up going into that a little bit. And so I can access that through my modules. We did this orientation thing now pretty much. And now I can open week 1. So each week has these sections to it. See, there's an introduction, a learning and applying. We got a lab section, and then we wrap it up. The learning, the intro is where I post these videos that we're making. The objectives is what we learn in the lecture lab, and the lab's pretty congruent with it too. But then the lecture assignments is on a table. Not really that important once you understand the framework. It's good to go here, but you see everything also reflected under the learning section here. The first week looks like horrific, but it's a lot of this is just small, fast cleaning stuff. So don't get too worried about it. Just start doing them, and by the time before you can freak out, you've done them. Down here, this is where it gets sort of in the regular pattern where we have the questions for week 1. We have a discussion. This discussion, actually, this is still sort of introduction work, understanding concepts. We don't have a coloring labeling this week, but then we got this lifestyle assessment that I want to go through. Oh, actually, let's finish this real quick. Hold on. See, then this is lab. This is Mr. Strail section. So he's going to go through all of that with you. And then the wrap up is down here. So this is where the Padlet is. And just talks about, again, you learned this and that this week. And this is actually further resources. Actually interesting. I got the OpenStack book that I already mentioned, the free online book. But this is a great YouTube lecture series by Marianne Diamond. And she was the greatest, so to speak, old school anatomy professor that we have these videos from. She puts everything on the blackboard. So if you're interested to have a peek at her, she's fantastic. The way she teaches this. She's been known to teach people who are now professors and chiefs of hospitals and all kind of stuff. She was she used to have Einstein's brain at some point in her possession, as Berkeley professor. So she's pretty spectacular. But what I thought it was phenomenal is she draws everything on the board. You don't have picture, copy, paste, Google, nothing. Once you draw it, you know it. That got me kind of back to also the color labeling activities, because she is one that has a coloring book for the brain. But anyway, have a peek on this extra resources. But when we get to these health kit activities, we start with a lifestyle assessment. Well, the thing is, we talk about this anatomy. We talk about our body. We talk about, and when we're living in this body, we feel good or bad or hurt or good, and I want to talk about that a little bit because I want to make it as good as possible for us. And as we learn about this anatomy, I also want to integrate that we can maybe benefit and feel a little better about it. And so first we start talking about this term morbidity, which is how do I feel? And then, it's some, of course, is genetic and age and all that stuff. But a lot of it is also what do I do ongoingly? And when I look at what do I do ongoingly, I look at a few levels that I can influence. I can influence what do I eat. I can influence my chemical internal structure somewhat. I can see what kind of thinking do I do? How much do I let myself be stressed out, or stress just sometimes comes from the outside. I can't do, but how do I deal with it? Am I resilient or that kind of stuff? And then the third component is physical. How do I work out? Do I go for a walk? Do I build my muscles up, or am I just sluggish sitting in the couch or sitting the whole day? Or what? Those are things. Those are three areas where we can make changes to help and improve how we feel. I look at that. I talk about that real quick here, because what I then want us to do in this activity, I want us to go and do a lifestyle assessment. And I have a little video. You don't have to watch it. I did that in class at some point. But I want you to read through these categories and weigh yourself on a 1 to 10 scale. How is my structure? How do I do with that? How Where am I? And then one for food, one for digestion. When you eat something greasy, are you like flat or do you handle it? It's that kind of stuff. Then hormones has a tab as well. Is my hormone? How's my energy and all that kind of stuff? Feeling also my sexuality is in there, of course, but it's very personal. You don't have to share any of that. And then how is you just have a number. You give yourself a number in each of these categories, and they have all to do with these chemical, emotional, physical three pillars that we can then work on, maybe improving on something. Maybe I have a very negative thought pattern and maybe I can work on that. And then that makes me feel better overall. And so we have shown those areas are areas where we can have an impact. And so first of us, one of the things is just getting used to this anatomy. I want us to reflect on that a little bit. And then in a second portion of this activity, I'm gonna want to talk about a little bit of a creating of a routine, and that's really a reward system. It's really an understanding that if you want to have yourself do something or change something, you got to give yourself a reward. Like one of the best rewards for wanting to go exercise again is to eat a piece of chocolate afterwards, which is kind of funny. But that sort of shows really strongly that reward system. And so I want you to just think about that a little bit, and then actually have a thinking through of one of the things you want to either add to your routine in your day or take away or change. And then we do our own health challenge, and we do a health challenge with each other, where I want you to pick. Where am I? Here am I. I want you to pick one of these three things. I either want you to go be active for 30 minutes a day, have some cardio stuff, do exercise. You can take a walk, you can go dance, you can go bike ride, but mindfully be active 30 minutes a day. And we do these activities or these things for 5 days a week and a total of 3 weeks. So it's quite a bit of time, but it's also, there's sort of things we should be doing anyway. We just kind of monitor it, or they're good for us to do anyway. And you don't have to do them all. You just do one of them. The other one that we could choose is some chemical thing. Drink more water or monitor the water we're intaking and not just mindlessly doing it for 3 weeks. Again, and then we're sort of having an understanding what this does. We don't have to keep doing that, but monitoring it for a little bit is a good idea sometimes to be aware of something. And then a third one we could choose would be meditating or praying, just something mindful for 10 minutes a day. And so I want you to then pick one of those challenges and then pick one of those challenges and then do those and track while you do those. Where did I put that tracker? See, I need to put it multiple places because I put a tracker here. The habit challenge, in the beginning, I talk about the whole thing here too. And then I put a habit tracker here. So that is just a way. It doesn't have to be this one, but you have a way of scoring yourself. Probably doesn't even come up here. The computer is a little overused, except even though I closed everything. But I just need something where you monitor what you're doing, like the first time going through is where you rate yourself, you write down that score. And then let's go back to these submissions. I'm sorry, I'm jumping a bit up and down here. And you write down that score and you put that in the text box as you submit the assignment down here. And then you have one habit that is okay to talk about. And I want you to just sort of, I'm not reading all the details, but I want to sort of see that you're thinking through one of those things on your own basically the reward loop is what's in there. What's my challenge? What's my trigger and what's my reward? I want to stop drinking coffee. Well, maybe I should remove the triggers for that one. But, think about that a little bit, how to change a habit, how to change something you want to change. And use something you're okay talking about it. And then thirdly is choose. Just choose. You don't have to do anything yet. Just choose one of the routines, the challenges, and then post that and write that in the text box and send me. And that way I can create groups. Because what we're going to do is I want you to track this 5 days a week for 3 weeks on a checkbox track. Monday I did it, Tuesday I did it. And then also maybe potentially I'm sort of moving away from being too touchy-feely, but, how did it make me feel when I drank 2 quarts of water? Well, I peed all night. Or, when I walked around, well, my feet hurt. Or, it felt energetic, or it felt more peaceful. I meditated, or, it's just some kind of a little reflection on it. And then what I do in the background, and so, you don't have to go overboard on that. Just track a little bit of what it's doing to you while you're doing it, kind of. And then as you then go through these weeks and track those, I know who has what habit, and I'm going to make text groups behind it on Pronto. And then we can sort of be encouraging each other of doing those. And so that's kind of then the thing. And then in 3 weeks, we have an activity where you upload the tracker, and then every health activity that we do, so there's a rubric down here. Some of them are a little hard, a little easy, they're fun, they're a little naggy. And then we have an activity where we discuss that, and you can reflect on that and talk to each other about it, or make a video or so. And finish up what we do that way. Okay, and so that's, I think, pretty much it. Let me see. I was not even visible at all, huh? I was in the background. Oh, that's all right. It wasn't really about me at all anyway. So that's about it, what I can think right now. If you have any questions, reach out to me. I'm just the Pronto way. You can also text me or send me an email. But I'll be around, and I'm here for you to help you get through this course and have some good time with it. With that, I'm going to be out and let you go your merry way. Take care. Bye-bye.